We hate making negative camera reviews, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes a camera just doesn't perform like we would hope. And we feel it's our responsibility to potential buyers to give them all the information they need to know whether to buy it or not. This comes up recently because of the Nikon Z6 review that we did. A lot of people were really critical of us because we were really critical of the Nikon Z6. It just didn't perform the way we expected. We love Nikon cameras. We recommended people continue to use their DSLRs for most situations, but we identified some areas, like if you're a video shooter and you want to use Nikon lenses, the Nikon Z6 is the best camera for that. Or if you just have to have an electronic viewfinder with all the benefits that it brings and use it with your Nikon lenses, there's no better camera for that than the Nikon Z6 or the Z7. But nonetheless, it fell down in a bunch of ways that other cameras have had mastered for a long time, like the autofocus, especially the continuous autofocus was pretty flaky. The white balance was unreliable. The exposure didn't see faces, so it didn't expose people properly automatically, and we found ways to work around all of these things, but nonetheless, they were problems that we felt the need to point out. We found a weird video jiggle. By the way, I wanted to confirm that electronic stabilization was not turned on, and when I looked at other people's reviews, I found them exhibiting the exact same behavior, even though I didn't see them call it out in their reviews. So these are probably just bugs with the camera. And hopefully Nikon will see the review and fix it. This happens a lot. In fact, our first review of the Fujifilm X-T1 was scathing because it was a buggy camera when it was first released. And after that, Fuji released a whole series of firmware updates over the course of a couple of years that solved almost every single problem we had with the camera. Fantastic on Fuji. And what were we supposed to do as camera reviewers, though? Predict the future that they were going to fix all of those things and tell you that it was rosy, knowing that it was going to be fixed? All we can do is be honest with you, brutally honest with you. I personally would feel awful if someone spent thousands of dollars that takes many people years to save to buy a camera, and then it didn't perform as they expected. There is nothing worse you can do for somebody than to provide an overly positive review of a product that's buggy. But I see other reviewers do that over and over again, and it really hurts me. So yeah, we'll go on those press events, and we will like the people there, and we will enjoy the shoots. But when it comes down to it, it is our responsibility as product reviewers to be brutally honest with you so you can make the decision whether to buy it or not. It's ultimately your decision. Many people will see a review of the Z6 and go ahead and buy it anyway. We're fine with that. As long as you did it in an educated way and you knew exactly what you were getting, you're not going to be dissatisfied. But if you buy it and you find out that the white balance is terrible and that's a real problem for you and we didn't tell you for some reason, that's on us. And I would feel terrible about that. We had some commenters saying we make negative reviews in order to get views. That's complete nonsense. Positive review is better in every way for us. With a positive review, we almost always get more views. Positive reviews also allow us to use our affiliate links to sell the cameras, and we end up selling more cameras and making more money. Positive reviews also make people love us. We get more subscribers from positive reviews. You know why? Because most people watching a review have already made up their mind about the product that they're looking into. They've either bought it or they're thinking about buying it, and they're really just looking for information that reaffirms the decision they've already made. So if you make a positive review, they see it, they think that you're smart because you agree with the decision that they've already made. If you make a negative review, they think you're dumb because you're telling them something that the other reviewers didn't tell them. And they get mad at you and they unsubscribe. Case in point, the Nikon Z6 review lost us a whole bunch of subscribers. We did a review of the Sony focusing system, something we were generally impressed with, and we gained a bunch of subscribers. Now, if you're a smart YouTuber with no ethics, that would lead you to the conclusion that you should just make positive reviews about everything. And I definitely see that in the reviewing community sometimes, not necessarily in the photography world, but in other tech fields. There are channels that just make positive reviews and they do great with it. Now, that's okay, but it doesn't necessarily help the buying public. It's not a channel that I'd want to use, and there might be a lot of people getting screwed over. But it does push forward consumerism and it makes everybody make some money. A bunch of people repeat the thing that we're biased or paid by some other camera manufacturer to slam the manufacturer. Now, let me explain how sponsorships work. First, we've had a bunch of sponsorships for different products. We always fully disclose them. We're ethically required to do that, but we're also legally required to do that. We have never accepted money or free gear from any camera or lens manufacturer. That is different from almost every camera reviewer out there on YouTube or in magazines or otherwise. They almost always accept money in some form or another. We have made this rule because we really want to be unbiased for you, but it doesn't always work. Like, people still accuse us of it anyway, and sometimes we even say, like, why don't we just start taking sponsorships from camera companies? It would make us a bunch of money, and people think we're already getting the money. Right now, it's the opposite of having your cake and eating it too. We have the worst of both worlds. So we're not being directly paid, but maybe we're biased in some way or another. Like, we like going on press trips. Some people say that we're positive because we enjoy the trips and we want to be invited back. The press trips, well, they're a lot of work, and they actually cost us a lot of money and time away from work and unreimbursed travel expenses. We also attend press events for just about every single camera manufacturer, and there have been lots of times when we went on a press event and we weren't entirely positive, like this Nikon Z6 review. In fact, every single time we reviewed any product, we found both positives and negatives about it, because that's what a realistic review is. People often see a review as being completely one-sided when it is two-sided, but maybe they're emotionally tied up into it, and so they only hear the negative things or they only hear the positive things. Something people often do is to pit our reviews against other people's reviews. In the Z6 review, a lot of people said, hey, you should check out Jared Poland's review. He thought the camera was fantastic. You must be an idiot because you don't agree with him. Jared Poland and I were standing next to each other for most of the actual shooting of the review, and we talked back and forth about our experiences with it, as we did with just about everybody else there. And I felt like we had completely consistent experiences with the camera. I also watched the entirety of Jared Poland's review, and I didn't see anything that I disagreed with. He complained about a lot of the same things. One big difference was that we crammed our review into about 10 minutes, whereas his was more of an hour. So he took time to describe things that he liked about it, like the electronic viewfinder that we didn't even talk about. The reason we didn't talk about it is it's kind of similar to competing cameras. We didn't see it as a big differentiator. Things like the sensor stabilization, the A7 Mark III has it too, so it's kind of a draw, and we didn't really go into that kind of thing. We really focused just on the things that made it different, like the ability to autofocus with Nikon lenses. Another example of that, we did an autofocus test with Sony cameras. Matt Granger did an autofocus test with Sony cameras. He said that the eye detect autofocus didn't work. We said that the eye detect autofocus worked well. But when I watched his review, I totally agreed with it. He was testing the eye detect autofocus through some branches, and we tested it without branches. But the funny thing is, I was there with him, and I actually tried the eye detect autofocus through those same branches, and it also didn't work for me. I had the exact same experience that Matt did. Matt's experience is accurate and valid, as was my experience in the room. I'm confident if Matt had tested the eye detect under the same situation that we tested it, he would have had the same results. We're all competent people. We all know how to autofocus a camera. We've been doing this for years. We have used dozens of different cameras. We know how to do this. Pitting us against each other isn't fair because we, for the most part, agree with each other, even if you interpret it a little bit differently. The biggest difference is probably going to be the minor aspects of the situation in which it's being tested. What you can do is watch multiple reviews and assume that they are all true and try to incorporate that in your understanding of what the camera is capable of. Yes, the A6400 can do eye detect autofocus if there are no obstacles, but if there's some branches in the way, it's probably going to get lost. Both of those things are true. That's all I wanted to say. If you want to follow up with any questions, write a comment down below. Of course, subscribe to see more product reviews from us, tutorials, and check out our book, Stunning Digital Photography. You can get it at our store or on Amazon. Thanks.